In this video, we are going to talk about multiplying monomials. I made a little boo-boo when I was writing it, so just ignore that. Multiplying monomials. So this is the rule for multiplying our monomials. It is a, and I do want you to write this down, a to the n times a to the m equals a to the n plus m. That's the algebra rules. This is it written in words. And then what we're going to do is look at some examples and make a little bit more sense. So when you multiply with the same base, the a's are the base, keep the base and add the exponents. So I want you to write that down, and then let's take a look at why that's the case. Pause if you need to. So if we have x squared times x cubed, I don't want you to have to do this every time, but I want you to understand why we're keeping the base and adding the exponent. X squared means x times x, times x cubed means x times x times x. So that is x squared times x cubed. Notice what that gives me is x to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's why I add my exponents. It goes back to that repeated multiplication. Okay, so it's not mystical. It goes right back to that repeated multiplication. Notice that my base stays x, and then 2 plus 3 is 5. Now, let's take a look for when we have monomial times monomial. So that means not just an x squared times an x cubed, but like 10x squared times negative 7x cubed. So we're going to look at monomial times monomial. First, our steps. You're going to multiply the coefficients. Remember, the coefficients are the number in front. So the regular numbers get multiplied because we're multiplying, right? That's monomial times monomial. For each variable, you're going to keep the base and add the exponent. I say for each variable because if it's x times x, you can do it. If it's y times x, you can't. You do the x's and then you do the y's. So if you have more than one variable, that's the way you'll do it. So we're going to look at these two examples. Let's go one at a time. So right here we have 6 times 12. Those are the coefficients. And then we have x squared times x to the 5th. Now, normally I skip this step, but I want to make sure you understand I'm basically rearranging. Because this is all multiplication, what I'm basically doing, using my commutative property that tells me I can multiply in whatever order I want to, I'm pulling the 6 times 12 to the front and then putting the x's together. Normally I skip that step and I go straight to the answer, but I want you to understand that that's what's happening. 6 times 12 is going to be 60 plus 12, so 72. And then x squared and x to the 5th, I'm going to keep the base. 2 plus 5 is 7. Then I'm done. Now, when we were combining like terms, when we were adding and subtracting, I kept saying the exponent does not change. When you're multiplying, it does. When you're multiplying, you keep the base, add the exponents. Let's do one more example. So this time I have negative 2x squared y times 4x y cubed z. This one looks so much more complicated, but it's not. It's okay. Again, normally I skip this step. Normally I totally skip this step, but I'm going to do it here. I'm going to rearrange. So I'm going to pull the negative 2 and the 4. Those are the coefficients. I'm going to pull those out front. Then I'm going to do x squared, and I'm going to do x. Then I'm going to do y and y cubed. I'm just bringing everything that's the same. I'm bringing them together. Commutative property is why that's legal, because I always want to make sure I'm doing legal work. Okay, so I pulled my coefficients together, I pulled my x's together, I pulled my y's together, and then my z is just kind of lonesome out there. When I do my multiplication, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Those are just regular numbers, so I just multiply them. Then for my x, I keep the base, and then, ooh, be careful. Remember my invisible math. There's a 1 right there. So I'm going to do 2 plus 1 is 3. And then same for my y's. There's a 1 right there. So I'm going to keep my base. 1 plus 3 is 4. and then the z stays a z. And that is it. We're going to keep practicing this. Again, I normally skip this step, or I shouldn't say I skip it. I normally do it in my head. So if you're going straight from here to here, it's fine. If you need to do this middle step of rearranging, then do it.